yeah, I have some books that I read in March. Kind of read, kind of didn't read. Yeah, my memory is really bad, so I probably won't remember some of them that well. But to start with two that I didn't read. The History of Western Philosophy by Russell. I guess I'm like in the process of reading it, and I finally got through ancient Rome and ancient Greece and made it to Catholic philosophy. I've read The Story of Philosophy and At the Existentialist Cafe, which I guess are both kind of overviews, and this people point to as like the grandest overview, so I figured I'd read it. It's really informative, but it's also really dense. Yeah. And then also in the process of reading Anna Karenina. I made it like 250 pages last month. I get the only Tolstoy that I've read is The Death of Ivan Ilyich, or however you say it, and it was good. And this is good, but it's just like I get the point of Tolstoy that he can paint characters so vividly, but I just haven't really been in the mood for this like boring old period stuff. But anyways, I'm making my way through it, I guess. And then for book club, we read Metamorphosis. I got my friends to start a book club like a couple years ago, and the first book we read was The Last Lecture, and I really didn't like it. And then we voted to read 100 Years of Solitude the following month after that, and I was the only one who read the book, and then book club died. So I figured we had to start with something under 100 pages, so we read the Metamorphosis. And I don't know, it was good. I can see why people teach it. It's taught to English majors and whatnot. Like, I get that there's layers to it. Just my memory's bad, so I don't remember it that well, and it must not have stuck with me that well. I mean, I remember when he was a bug, like running around the ceiling, which I guess reminds me, I don't know if you're meant to talk about spoilers or not. Like, if you're meant to give book reviews and say a spoiler or not say a spoiler, be warned that there will be maybe spoilers. Okay, and these are out of order, which ones I read. I guess this is the only one I didn't like DNF'd. I have no intention of finishing it. I made it probably 3/4 of the way through. It's Psycho-Cybernetics by Maltz, a new technique for using your subconscious power. Someone recommended it years ago, and I finally got around to reading it. And it seemed like it would be good for someone with anxiety, but it started off strong, talking about self-image. Like, the guy's a plastic surgeon, and he would talk about people's self-image, how in changing their face, they became more confident, when really it was just a matter of self-image. And I thought that was interesting to read about, but then he got into this like pseudo-science-y stuff, where it's like, I appreciate psychoanalysis and I think there's weight to it, but he started going into some seriously out there connections, which I can't really remember. I've sort of cast it from my mind, but kind of like the Oedipus complex, but much less believable. And then I think it was also written in the 60s, and it has that sort of the boomer, like, if you're anxious, just don't think about it type vibe. So yeah, didn't finish. I'd read 2 sci-fi books. This is the first one I read, Solaris. Someone I watched on YouTube was reading Stanislaw Lem, and he seemed good, so I decided to read this. I haven't read any sci-fi really. This was like my first dip into sci-fi, maybe since I was really a kid. The scientists go to this planet where the ocean is alive and casts memories, casts people's like repressed memories as real live beings to the people. And the people don't know if humans can't figure out if the ocean is communicating with them or messing with them, or if it has no intention at all. It's kind of like an automaton, which was just interesting. I like psychology and I like memory, and so it was a really interesting read. I think a few times he got really into the weeds with the science, which is part of my issue with sci-fi, and I didn't care much for that. But I don't know. I'd recommend it to someone. Yeah. I don't know why I don't have any tabs in this one. I went on a bit of a Walton Goggins kick because of the White Lotus. But I guess I'd seen him before in Fallout, and I really liked him in Fallout. I probably liked him in Fallout more than in White Lotus. But his like Architectural Digest video came into my feed, and he said that he had this book on like a shrine, The Moon and Sixpence, and said it was such an important book to him, and I think he named his son after Somerset Maugham. Having said all of that, I didn't start with this one because I mentioned this to my sister and my dad, and they were like, they both said that they really liked The Razor's Edge. So I started with this one, and I guess the point of this one is to follow this guy Larry something, who in maybe the 20s or 30s kind of dodged the suburb finance bro life and went and traveled. He was a miner, and he went to India, and I don't know, I'm just attracted to stories of someone going off the beaten path, so I enjoyed reading it. Of course, I can't talk about any of the books really in depth because I don't remember them that well. Not that anyone's watched 8 minutes and 35 seconds into this. So I like that one. And Mom has kind of like a flowery way of writing that I enjoyed. And his observation skills, I think it was like a true story that he had to adapt, obviously, when he wasn't there. And then I read The Moon and Sixpence. I did not like this one. If I remember correctly, this one Mom was more full of himself. And there's also some serious old colonialism vibes going on. Yeah, I don't know, I didn't like this one that much. For book club, there's the last book. For book club, we read Blindsight by Peter Watts. I got in a pretty heated debate with my friends about whether the book was good or not, because I didn't particularly like it, and they all did like it, so I was a bit of the odd man out. I guess I'm really bad at saying what any of those books were about, I think. Maybe in the future I won't put so many books in one video. These people have to go investigate. They choose to investigate an alien signal after a bunch of alien things came and took a snapshot of Earth. Like tens of thousands of these cameras came and took a picture of Earth, and humans decide to go see what that's about, like if it's a threat. And they go out and they find these aliens, and initially the humans are communicating with the ship Rorschach, and come to find out, I'm skipping so many things, come to find out that it's a Chinese room. The ship is a Chinese room, meaning that it's not conscious. It's just, it responds to information based on a program. So I guess the thought experiment is that, we'll see if I can sum it up shortly. Someone who speaks Chinese is standing outside of a room, and they put in these Chinese, a piece of paper with Mandarin on it that says, "Hi, how are you?" And then there's a person in the room who speaks English, and they receive these symbols and have no idea what they mean, but the English-speaking person has a big textbook that says, when these symbols come into the room, send these symbols out to the room, or out of the room, back to the person standing outside. So the person in the room converts, "Hi, how are you?" into, well, as a response, "I'm doing well, how are you?" and sends the paper back out. And then the person standing outside of the room receives the paper that says, "I'm doing well, how are you?" and is like, "Oh, this is such a nice, there's such a nice person inside the room." But the person inside the room has no idea what the hell's going on. They're not really thinking, they're just following instructions. So I think the ship would be compared to, the aliens would be compared to like a tree. They're not acting nefariously or anything. They just are. They live and reproduce and just are. The book fell short in a few ways. A common complaint I saw from people was that there weren't enough descriptions. Like people didn't know what was going on. They didn't know what the ship looked like and whatnot. I didn't really find an issue with that. It's fun to, like, when the author leaves it to you to kind of imagine things. I think the book should have been a thought experiment, or it should be approached as a thought experiment. Like, it could be a 2-paragraph long thought experiment, but it was shoved into this book. Like, I think books need a coherent plot and character development, and you want to care for the characters, and things need to happen for a reason, and that doesn't really happen in the book. I think it's because Watts, well, one, he's not a writer, which is interesting in itself that he contributed these ideas. He gave up the elements of a good story in service of the idea of whatever, consciousness or not consciousness. Is consciousness kind of a bad trait for evolution? Whatever, consciousness. And I think good writers and good stories don't give anything up. They include all those things that make stories worth telling and serve those grand ideas. So it's like, the book is fine, but I would rather read A, a good book, or B, a book that is just like a philosophical text where it's not diluted with like space vampires and crazy ass, apparently incredibly accurate scientific information. I just want to hear about the ideas or hear about the story. Yeah. Those are the books I read in March. I don't think I really did well in sharing my thoughts about them or being interesting or looking at the camera very much. But maybe that will change in future videos if this one even gets published. Yeah, thanks for watching this far if you did.